Hello and welcome to the highest city in the state of California, Mammoth Lakes. My name is Kevin Taddonio, host of This Week in Triathlon. I'm joined by my good friend Matt Russell, the 2012 Ironman Canada champion, and just coming off a second place finish there just a couple weeks ago. And I'm also joined by John Urdi, the executive director of Mammoth Lake Tourism. Is that
Mammoth
correct?
Lakes Tourism, yep.
Okay, and I've been fortunate enough to be up here training at the high altitude for the last 3 weeks. I'm having a great time. Matt just got here. And John's coming on here today to talk a little bit more about Mammoth Lakes and what it has to offer. So.
Yeah, first, welcome. You know, it's a phenomenal place, and really been a mecca for high altitude training for a long time now, and really started getting on the map when Deena Kaster and Meb Keflezghi both moved here in the 2000s and proceeded to go off to Athens and win medals in the Olympic marathon. Deena winning bronze and Meb winning silver. So it really put us on the map, and it really is what started the whole Mammoth Track Club and started the focus on high altitude training here of living high and training low and being able to have all sorts of different weather to work with. And even when it's snowing like crazy here, you can drive 10 minutes down the road to the track and field complex and have beautiful weather. So it's from a training standpoint, it's really taken off in the last decade and continues to take off. Far more triathletes coming to play with us now, cyclists in general. I had a huge event this past weekend that had about 1,800 different riders come in for both a road event, a Gran Fondo, and also a major mountain bike event that the mountain used to do and brought back called the Kamikaze Bike Games. So it's great to see the emphasis coming back on the training here.
Absolutely, and as some of our viewers may know, living between 7,000 and 8,000 feet, you can get a pretty good performance-enhancing benefit from living up at altitude. And they're really, the scientific research suggests that the best results you can get are from living high and training low. And what that means is living between 7,000 and 8,000 feet and being able to descend, under 4,000 feet ideally to be able to get your high-intensity training in. And if you look at topographic maps around the country, there really aren't that many places where you can do that. The state of Colorado, for instance, you can't get down low enough. And some places that just aren't high enough. So really your options are basically Flagstaff, Arizona, and Mammoth Lakes.
Yep, absolutely.
And there might be a couple other places you can try to finagle your way up and down, but really there isn't a place that's like Mammoth with the support you have in the community. And
yeah, nothing that's as easily accessible. We had mentioned this morning, the summit of Mammoth Mountain is 11,000 feet. And so the Mammoth Lakes sits really from about 75 to 8,500 feet just in town here. And the fact that you can run at that level, or you can be at 7,000 feet down by the airport in a matter of 5-10 minutes, or you can be at 4,000 feet in a half an hour, is really very, very unique. And again, even in the wintertime when it's snowing like crazy up here, you can go right down to Round Valley and into Bishop and be able to train at 4,000 feet. So it's pretty amazing, and it's funny. When I first moved here and I started working with Meb Keflezghi, and we were looking at he was going back for the New York Marathon, and he would stay here. He would stay at altitude as long as possible, and then head back for the race. So it's definitely a proven thing, and the success of the track club has proven that. So
now, if someone like Meb was competing in a race, how would he travel to and from Mammoth as fast as possible?
He would fly. In fact, a lot of times he would end up taking red eyes, which is crazy from you think about it. I think it's annoying from a business standpoint, and I'm not trying to run a race. So, I think in New York he would get there literally like the day before the race.
And where would he fly out of?
We can fly right out of Mammoth Lakes. So we've got one flight a day in the summer with Alaska Airlines, but in the wintertime we have, in the wintertime we've got 6 flights a day from San Diego, Los Angeles, San Francisco, and Orange County. So it's really easy to get here from all over the world, let alone the country. You can connect with United Airlines through San Diego or San Francisco, and then Alaska teams up with American and Delta and all those. So you can fly from Atlanta or Boston or New York. So it's the accessibility is there. Plus, we're a 5-hour drive from Los Angeles, 5 hours from San Francisco, 5 hours from Vegas. They're really within the 5-hour circle of us. There's more than 22 million people. And so to get folks coming up here. And it's funny because you will run into the non-elite athletes that are just up here because they're training for something. And they know that it's worked for our elite athletes, so they'll come here and do the same thing.
Yeah, it's so funny you mention that because I was at the Whitmore pool, which is a community pool just down in the valley a little bit lower altitude, and I met a couple that were from San Diego doing just that.
Yeah.
They're age group athletes, but definitely can feel the performance enhancing benefit of coming up to altitude. So
yeah,
taking advantage of Mammoth Lakes.
It is, and it's funny. Our mayor Rick Wood, Rick is a marathoner, and obviously he lives here and he goes out running at 5 o'clock in the morning. And when we were back for the Olympic trials in Houston, he ran the Houston Marathon, and not only did he win his age group by a good distance, he also placed well, very, very high in the entire field. So living here definitely has its benefits regardless of what age group you're training for.
So some of our viewers might be familiar with the show MTV Cribs.
Yeah, right.
It's a TV show where celebrities and rappers show off their houses and their cars and everything. Well, in Mammoth Lakes they have something called the Endurance Crib, where Matt and I are going to be staying the next few nights. Can you tell some of our viewers a little bit about the Endurance Crib?
Yeah, basically we brought the crib into being 3 years ago, and we looked at it from a standpoint of we have a ton of people that come to visit, we have a ton of athletes that come to visit or that live here, and we wanted to provide the facility for elite athletes to come and train at altitude. And so we rent a condo throughout the course of the summer that, frankly, I think you could probably, if you really wanted to, you could probably sleep about 10 in that condo. And it has access to the Snow Creek Athletic Club. It's in Snow Creek Resort. It's a great location. You can run right out your door. And so we make that available to athletes of all segments. So we've got runners, we've got triathletes, we've got cyclists. We actually even were looking at hosting the U.S. rowing team here to do some high altitude training, which is funny. And they wanted to come in February to do high altitude training. I said, well, February's a little tough here, but it really opens your eyes to say that the, like you'd mentioned, the training at altitude, almost regardless of what your sport is, makes a huge impact.
Absolutely.
So
Matt, you've been fortunate enough to train around the world. What do you think of the training here around Mammoth?
I would say out of all the places I've been, lived in Arizona, and in Texas, multiple places in Colorado, and this is, I would say, my favorite places to train. I spent, leading up to Ironman Canada, I spent a week before the race, I spent a little more than 2 weeks here, and the swimming, I did a lot of my swimming right in June Lake. Beautiful.
Yep.
Beautiful place to swim and get a solid hour without touching a wall or anything, which is great. And then the riding, I mean, I found some big loops that, would take me 6 hours or so to ride, and some great climbs too around here. And the trails are great, and I can find out in I think Bennett Crossing Road, Benton, right up there with the Green Church.
Yep.
Great place to do tempo, and I know Meb and Ryan Hall and Josh Cox, they would do their tempos out there, and every mile there's a mile mark. Right, so it's easy, just look down on your watch, okay, I ran a 6:02 mile or something, and then on the one side of the road, where the Green Church is, there's the Whitmore Pool, where Kevin has swam to, and then on the other side, right across from it, there's the track, so it's great to do repeats, and this is a phenomenal area to train, and I definitely plan to hit some solid training blocks here in the future.
Yeah, and the track and field complex is a new facility for us. It was completed really late last fall, but we had the grand opening this April, and it's a synthetic infield and a synthetic track, and it's just it's tremendous because really it can be used year round, and even when it does snow at that elevation, it melts off pretty quickly. So it's pretty special to have that here now, because we've been incredibly successful without the facilities because of the trails and the roads and everything that we have to offer here. So to have facilities now it's a great addition.
And one thing I want to make a note of that really surprised me personally was if you look at the top 10 hardest cycling climbs in the United States, 5 of them are within an hour's drive of Mammoth Lakes. So you have climbs like Horseshoe Springs, or Horseshoe Valley, Onion Valley Road, White Mountain, Whitney Portal Road. These are climbs that are longer and steeper than the Col de Tourmalet and the Tour de France. So really a world class, and also there's no traffic hardly in the summertime. You don't see many cars, you don't see many cyclists, so very safe place to train and really world class. So.
And I think the biggest thing too is that there's more to do here than just training. And I think we've got the Devil's Postpile National Monument in town here, which is a rock formation that just actually 2 years ago celebrated the 100th anniversary of its proclamation as a national monument. 101 foot Rainbow Falls down there. You've got hiking and biking and fishing and golf and rock climbing and all these great things going on here. Hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of miles of trails for biking and hiking and horseback riding, and it's just you really even living here, it becomes a challenge. I've got a 7 and 9-year-old, and when we wake up on Saturday morning, if they don't have one of their many sporting events that they're supposed to be playing in, it's like, okay, well, do we want to go for a hike? Do we want to go for a ride? Do we want to go play golf? And it's really difficult to figure out which ones to do. there's just a plethora of stuff up here.
It's a nice problem to have.
It is a nice
Yeah.
problem to have. It's a great place to bring up kids.
Well, speaking of problems to have, the sun is shining here. We got some training to get in today, Matt and myself. So I just want to thank John for coming on to talk about Mammoth Lakes. And if you've explored the world, if you've never been to Mammoth Lakes, highly recommend, to paraphrase Ferris Bueller, if you have the means, I highly recommend coming up here and checking it out.
Yeah, and people can find out information at visitmammoth.com. They can follow us on Facebook at Visit Mammoth, Twitter at Visit Mammoth. So it's easy to get there, and lots of good information out there.
Okay, very good. Well, Matt, John, thank you very much, and
Thank
thanks
you.
to our viewers at home. Thank you.